India is far ahead of the Western civilization. Here you cannot routinely handcuff a person you are arresting. Unless there is a propensity to escape. And you see America, you see UK, straight away handcuffing. Prison reform is a major step India has taken. It's not fully implemented, I know. At least the law is there. No other country has advanced so much. So we collected that. And that is the foundation of rarest of rare cases. The funny thing is, a small magistrate in a film will have two chobdars with bhalas standing behind them.
Exactly.
Even the Chief Justice of India doesn't have
Exactly.
that. BCCI is the best governed sports body in this country. Miles ahead of any other sport. Hard work always pays. Second, you should never lose the sense of humor. If I took up music, I had to reach the top with my family's legacy behind me.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Lawyer podcast. My name is Jenna Krishnan. I'm your host and the founder of the Daily Lawyer. And today is yet another episode in our legacy series, which is done in collaboration with Solomon and Company, one of the oldest and most respected law firms, which is headquartered in Mumbai in India with offices elsewhere. Solomon and Company's legacy stretches over 115 years of continuous legal practice across 4 generations, and we are deeply indebted to them for being collaborators with us on this series of the podcast. This series, which is the Legacy series, is a shared vision between us to create a historical archive of sorts on the internet, of conversations with those legal minds which have left an indelible impression on the Indian legal system. What we seek to do is to have a repository of these conversations that you can dip into if you want inspiration, some direction, or you just want to spend time in the company of some incredible men and women. With that, I am proud to introduce our next guest. I'm speaking about Justice Mukul Mudgal, a former Chief Justice of the Punjab and Haryana High Court, retired judge from the Delhi High Court, born to a family of renowned musicians, but he himself has really carved a niche in, I would say, in the field of sports law. He's on the governance committee of FIFA. He's an arbitrator with CAS in Lausanne, with Ultimate Coco League, so many things. I'm so happy and proud to have Justice Mudgal here. Thank you, sir, for giving us your time. I'm not going to say much because I want you to talk about your journey.
No, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir. So I just started by saying that you're born to a family of very renowned musicians, and you told me that other than you, everybody else are still in the field of fine art.
Yeah.
So how did you get into the field of law, which is such a departure from the family legacy?
Well, law will come later. First, the reason why I'm not in music: A, I don't think I had the talent. Yeah. B, there had to be a listener or a viewer in the family. And C, if I took up music, I had to reach the top with my family's legacy behind me. I don't think I had it in me because I was going to a school which had exposure to extracurricular activities, sports. It had the best sports infrastructure in Delhi at that time.
Which school was this?
Modern school.
Acha.
And it had a swimming pool, it had horse riding, it had football, cricket, everything. And therefore, I was exposed to sports. And that's how I was in the school swimming team. And also, I was in Delhi University team also.
Swimming?
For water polo.
Oh, wow.
So that was my achievement in sports, minor. Okay. But I was fond of sports. I watched cricket. I watched old tests in Delhi from 1950s.
Wow.
Yeah. Till 1990, when my career had taken off, it was becoming difficult to watch a 5-day match.
Yeah.
Because those days, there were only 5-day
5-day matches. Can you imagine in this IPL age of like 4-hour cricket match?
Yeah, but that's more entertainment than sport. But it requires great skill, undoubted.
So then how did the transition into law happen after Delhi University?
In Delhi University, I did honors in chemistry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I realized, and I don't think I'm going to make a scientist or anything. And I'm always a yen for underdogs. So I took up law because of that. Secondly, it was easy to get admission in those days.
Yeah.
And Campus Law Center was a fun place to be. Not much studies, but at least for me. Yeah.
So that's how you went into law. And then when you got into law, did you like the subject? Do you feel
I started enjoying it.
Yeah.
Except technical subjects like Stamp Act, Registration Act, those kind of things, and even Civil Procedure Code.
Okay.
Yeah. But I enjoyed criminal law. I enjoyed constitutional law very much.
So
I had bad marks in stamp and registration, those kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I was topped
in constitutional
law.
Yeah. I think that formed the bedrock of a lot of your later judgments also.
Yeah. Actually, a judge must be exposed to all forms of life. You can't live a cloistered life, that kind of a thing doesn't work.
So after you finished your law school, then you joined a chamber
with
Justice
Dr. Chitale. And I worked with him for 5 full years, 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 at night, except Friday evening and Saturday afternoons. Nothing was really. Sunday was fully occupied with conferences because Monday was the admission day in Supreme Court.
I see.
I used to be not like it, but it taught me a hell of a lot. It taught me the value of hard work. I came to learn law. You learn law practice only when you go to the court.
Correct.
No college can prepare you for what you encounter in courts.
Yeah, we were under this legacy series, we were having another episode and like this only what you were saying, that when you work with seniors of a certain caliber, you learn so much more just being in their company. And I'm sure you were briefing, all of these great counsels and lawyers.
Later. For the first 5 years, it was Dr. Chitale only.
Okay, but even he's a doyen, He was
a constitutional expert.
Yes.
He did the case of overflights of Pakistan in the Indian Court of Justice with Mr. Palkiwala.
I see.
Yeah. So his training was tough. He was a generous person, but in work, merciless.
Yeah.
Which was very good for me.
Yeah. So what did you learn, sir, from that? Like how did that shape your early approach to law and justice? And
there were cases there which we got exposed to. You might remember Sunil Batra case. There were two. They were prison reform cases.
Yes.
Where I and Dr. Chitale were appointed amicus curiae. So we went to the prison, saw what the solitary confinement meant, and gave a full report to Justice Krishna, who was presiding over the bench. It was a marvelous exposure to human values in his court.
So just to give everybody a context, this was a case on solitary confinement. Do you want to just clarify all of that, just to give a context?
Sunil Batra had been sentenced to death. And there was a rule, the minute you're sentenced to death, prison rule, you're straight away put in solitary confinement, straight after session judgment.
I see.
So
even if there's an
appeal may take 3 years, 4 years in the High Court and then Supreme Court. Because
But
Supreme Court admits most cases were life sentences.
I see.
And rightly so. So it could be 7-8 years by the time, and then the mercy petition takes time, and you're always in So he sent Sunil Batra, convict in this bank van robbery case. He sent a postcard to Justice Krishna that this is the inhuman condition. Then Justice Krishna took up that letter as a petition, but appointed Dr. Chitale and me as amicus and asked us to file a proper writ petition. We did a lot of study and then I filed that petition incorporating all aspects of prison law, and Justice Krishna then held that solitary confinement can only be given when the judgment of the convict has become final. Even after the mercy petition has been rejected, only then it can be given solitary. We saw the solitary cell.
How was it, sir?
Horrible. There's a toilet in the cell itself. Only for half an hour you're taken out for some kind of exposure to natural light. then sent back. It was not that what he did was not horrible, of course.
And then, so that was one.
The other was Prem Shankar Shukla, where I was appointed amicus. Dr. Chitale was busy in other cases. So that is about handcuffing, routine handcuffing. And please remember, India is far ahead of the Western civilization. Here you cannot routinely handcuff a person you are arresting unless there is a propensity to escape. And you see America, you see UK, straight away handcuffing, arresting the person. So in that sense, we have advanced way beyond them. And in US, the prisons are privatized. Can you imagine?
Is it?
Yeah. So a sovereign function being privatized. Hats off to America.
I don't know about that. But so this was in the world of prison reforms that you had. And how did that shape your view to law and justice? Because I also know that you did a lot of legal aid and pro bono work. So did that influence you to sort of give back?
Before that, I would like to mention one more case. Again, I was amicus with Dr. Chitale. It was challenged to the death sentence. Bachan Singh's case.
Acha.
So
this is Bachan Singh. Bachan Singh.
It's about Bachan Singh upheld capital punishment. One judge said no, it can't be awarded. But while the case was going on, it was very interesting. Dr. Chitale told me, except Justice Bhagwati, all other 4 judges are against us. So what you do is you prepare a list of all the cases where the Supreme Court has reduced death to life, and in 2-3 lines write the reasoning behind that. So we collected that, and that is the foundation of rarest of rare case.
Okay.
So it was, and funnily enough, if you read the judgment carefully, Bachan Singh's case, it says Dr. Chitale has suggested some these reasons where death sentence should not be awarded, and these are relevant considerations. But subsequent judgments have taken the rarest of rare case as the law laid down by the Supreme Court.
Okay.
And it now universal, and thank God for that.
Thank God for that. Wow. Sir, how does it feel to be part of these kind of turning points in Indian legal jurisprudence?
Well, at that time, one felt nothing.
Yeah.
In the sense, because you're too overworked
Yeah.
to give any thought to anything else. Lunch would be had in the front of the canteen, just having one samosa and one
Chai.
limca or that thing, and then going back because there was no time. You were researching all the time, foreign judgments. And so, because prison reform is a major step India has taken. It's not fully implemented, I know, but at least the law is there. No other country has advanced so much.
I see. These are things that we should know. I'm so glad we are doing this series. And sir, now after this,
there was one more case. It's called Kadra Pahadia.
Kadra Pahadia.
It's a case about 80,000 prisoners under trials who were in jail in Bihar. And this came because of some tribal boys being held with no bail, nothing. Even their sentence would have been complete by that time, maximum sentence. Then case was taken up and a list was prepared with the help of an NGO. And, this about 80,000 prisoners were released.
I see. But so about undertrials, this is a topic that really bothers me. I still feel that we don't have a good enough system to handle the undertrials.
Absolutely. Justice Krishna has laid down. They don't insist on financial security. There's so many prisoners, poor ones, who have been granted bail, but they can't furnish the financial security. And mechanically, courts impose financial security. This is wrong, Also, this denial of bail all the time, it's terrible,
It's so difficult to balance the societal interests and, individual liberties in this. How does one do that?
Well,
as a judge, how would you do
if
that?
the case is so heinous that release on bail would shock the conscience of us, then perhaps bail should not be granted. Or if an accused is in the position to influence witnesses, bail should not be granted till evidence has been recorded. After that, it should be. So it needs a very radical reform in the laws and the approach also.
What do you think has to be first? Because you said we do have prison reform laws, etc. But do you think the approach needs to first change?
Yeah, I'm talking about the approach about bail now.
Correct.
Bail approach has to change. What you do is under trial is exposed to hardened criminals, and most of them turn criminals in jail.
Yes.
In small offense like theft of some food stuff and all, person, he doesn't have financial, because he's come from remote areas of India to work in a city, and nobody will give financial security for him. And that kind of thing, I mean, the courts have to be humane in that. If it's not a very heinous offense, the bail should be granted automatically.
Sir, now I'm shifting gears a little bit. Do you want to speak a little bit about your pro bono work?
When I was aged about 35 or 36, Justice Venkatramaya appointed me as the Secretary of the Legal Aid Committee. That time, the Secretary of the Legal Aid Committee used to be a lawyer, practicing lawyer.
This is in the Supreme Court.
Supreme Court. Supreme Court Legal Aid Committee it was called. And I was quite concerned because I was only 35. My predecessor was 65 or something. And I don't know how I'm going to deal with it, because the funds are government funds. Every 20 rupees above you spend, 3 vouchers have to be signed and all that kind of thing. So, but let me tell you, during that tenure, and I hadn't known Justice Venkatramaya from Adam. I was only appearing before him and never met him one-to-one. He just saw me work in court, and this is the greatness of such judge, No contact with me. I don't belong to Karnataka. I have a mixed parentage. Mother from Maharashtra, father from UP,
I see.
So, but this thing got me going.
And now if I have to shift gears a little bit and talk about your time at the bench, I definitely want to start with your judgment of the BCCI, where you declared BCCI to be a public body.
Yeah.
How did you manage to, again, coming back to the same question, how did you manage to reconcile this individual or institutional liberty of the BCCI with the public duties or responsibilities or obligations? Because cricket at the time, and even now, but certainly when we were all growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was actually an emotion that united the entire country.
Yeah, absolutely. Cricket,
So how did you...
was a legend, and I told you I've seen all test matches since the mid-50s in Delhi till 1990. All test matches, 5 days, all 5 days, because modern school was wonderful. It gave, you could take 5 days off if you were seeing the match.
I see.
And you got a 10 rupee season ticket for 8 rupees.
Wow.
That was for the cheapest stand. You never got a seat there. But it was great fun watching great cricketers like Garfield Sobers, Wesley Hall, Ray Gilchrist, who, according to me, was the fastest bowler I've ever seen. In 5 days of Delhi test, not a single ball of his.
I see.
He was so fast. It could only be seen when the wicketkeeper was
Caught
it, or it was hitting the stumps or the bat.
So then how did you do that? As in what was, because I know when we were talking before we started recording, you said you had your brushes with the BCCI was not just this. You had brushes with the BCCI even when you were a lawyer.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you. You see, the cricketers had a tour of, Indian cricket team had a tour of West Indies.
This is in the 80s.
Somewhere around 89 or so.
Yeah.
And when they were returning, they played a private match in US, because you have a stopover in US coming from West Indies in any case. And the BCCI got annoyed and banned all 14 players. Court then, I filed a petition challenging that under Article 32. A tough thing to do. But I took a chance because my love for the sport was so strong. Kapil Dev, Azharuddin, all these players had been banned because the entire cricket team probably was banned. And Justice Venkatramaya, a great sports lover, great cricket lover.
Okay.
He, in the court, we briefed me and Mr. K.N. Bhatt, senior advocate, we briefed Soli Saravji to appear. And the other side had all the sport cricket associations had top senior lawyers, about 30 lawyers opposing us, and only Mr. Soli Saravji, Mr. K.N. Bhatt and me were on their side. But Justice Venkatramaya, I gave reasons why it should be considered a state. The reasons were A, it flies the Indian flag, it represents India, and all all international matches you play as India. So you can't say that you are not performing public. And the Justice Venkatramaya had talked to BCCI and they saw his firm attitude.
So that was your first brush with
Yeah.
BCCI?
The second one was that case of Ajay Jadeja,
Achha.
where I laid down that the public functions, as far as writ jurisdiction is concerned, all public functions of BCCI are amenable to writ jurisdictions. Only their own private functions like employment, they cannot be taken up. Their commercial advertising, that kind of issue cannot be done in the writ jurisdiction, but certainly public functions. Supposing somebody in the board were to say that players from only my state will be selected. Now, that's totally wrong.
Correct.
And opposed to public policy. So, you can challenge that. That was the rest.
Yeah. And then the third was the match fix. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm saying match fixing 2013 IPL. That's how it's most popularly known.
Yeah, but there is some misnomer there.
Yeah.
Because, you see, there were two reports.
Yeah. So before you say that, can you just give context on what happened in 2013 with the IPL? And how did you get involved?
You see, I think there was one player from Kadra, Mr. Shishant, who I think was caught on tape regarding some incident that I'll bowl a no ball or something in a particular over. That kind. So that blew up in media, and because of that, Supreme Court appointed a committee consisting of me, Justice Nageshwar Rao, who was then a senior advocate, and Mr. Niloy Datta from Assam, who were an umpire.
Okay.
So there were two reports. Unfortunately, the minority report of Mr. Niloy Datta got magnified because it kept on referring to match fixing. And we found, two of us, me and Justice Nageshwar Rao, we did not find that there was match fixing. Yes, there was a violation of, the IPL rules that somebody, executive in a particular team, cannot bet. And that had been violated. But apart from that, I'd like to tell you, with all its some small drawbacks, BCCI is the best governed sports body in this country, miles ahead of any other sport.
Actually, I was going to ask you about that because you are now you're on the governance committee of FIFA, which is the most probably widely known body for football. You are on.
I'm chair there.
Oh, you're the chair. Oh God, yeah, you're the chair of the governance committee. And then, are you the only Indian?
Only Indian in the entire.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
There's some are there in representing India in the Prapol Patel.
I see.
And in the council.
Okay.
Which is the highest.
Okay.
But governance, audit and compliance committee is an independent body which is not fallen under it.
Okay.
So one of the functions is all high posts for FIFA have to go through all candidates for high post have to go through an integrity check
with the governance committee, which you are chairing.
Yeah.
And how many people are there in the governance committee?
There are 11 from various countries.
Okay.
In various regions. But FIFA has 211 members.
I see. Okay.
After the 2016 or 15, when that corruption scandal erupted, FIFA underwent a transformation, and it was previously dominated by European, and rightly so because football was important there. But they diversified, and perhaps that's the reason why I came to be there. So I served there for 9 years. 1 year as deputy chairperson, and then the rest 8 years as chairperson.
Wow. And do you have a term?
My term is ending in May.
I see.
And I'm finding travel difficult now.
Oh, so you have to go all the way to Europe, is it, every time?
And they have an annual congress in May in Caracas, which will involve 35 hours of travel with 2 breaks and all. I'm not going to go. I have recorded my speech.
And then sent it. But Caracas is what? Venezuela? Paraguay. Okay. Wow. Long way. So I wanted to ask you about that because you are, you've been a chair now for so long at FIFA. arguably the biggest, I guess, sporting body
Oh, by miles.
by miles. And everybody knows FIFA. Even the kids on the road know FIFA. And then, of course, BCCI, you've had multiple versions with BCCI. And then even CAS in Lausanne. Now everybody knows about CAS because of Finnish Fogart Pogel. So, and then I think, what is your, with Ultimate Kho also, you are associated in what capacity?
I'm associated as the ethics committee, ombudsman, I think.
Okay.
But now no case came up, so but I'm, yes, I was there, but no case came up, so there's not much
Contribution there.
Yeah, hardly any.
So I wanted to ask you, since you've seen now multiple sports, Kho, football, cricket, and then General Sporting Federation as an arbitrator, and then you're saying that, BCCI is one of the better regulated bodies.
The best.
The best regulated bodies, at least in our country. I wanted to ask you what can Indian sporting associations do to, get better in their regulations, in their the way of functioning, dispute resolution?
Well, the ombudsman should be totally independent. There should be an ombudsman for all society. Second, there should be term limits. Third, watch out for conflict of interest. If you have the slightest interest in anything, then you must declare it. And if still the body approves it, it's fine. But it should go to an independent.
What do you see as the future of sports in India? Do you think it's, this kind of regulation or this kind of formalizing of sports bodies and institutions, is that a good thing? Is that going to happen more? How do you see it?
It is. I'll tell you why. Because sports is now inexorably linked with entertainment. And TV, for good or worse, it is there. So the exposure to media has made sports popular and money churning. Example is of cricket. Maybe when our football picks up, football may overshadow cricket, but not in the near future. Hockey we have done. We were gold medalist for a long time, So I think it is necessary to have these governance issues settled, and it will take time, And just to say somebody is a politician, he should not be there is wrong. Because there are instances where sport persons have made terrible decisions, And it's not easy to administer I give you an example of BCCI. Cricketers hardly got any money. Today we have the president from India, and there have been past presidents from India also. So otherwise there was a time when India was not regarded anything in cricket administration. Australia, then England ruled the roast, and now India does, and rightfully so.
Now staying with the arbitration part of it, aside from your entire contributions in the world of sports, which have been quite a bit, and all your contributions in the world of prison reforms, which I was not at all aware of, if we just stick to commercial arbitrations, because you've had a lot of experience over there also, how can, I think, we make arbitration faster, more effective? In theory, it is supposed to be faster and more effective. I doubt it's happening in practice.
It's not. You see, there are 2 or 3 things which have to be done. First, Section 34 challenges. They in many cities, except 4 high courts, they all go to the district court, the challenge. Then comes to the high court. That takes, and the district judges may not be capable of doing it. Take example of Gurgaon and dispute arising in Gurgaon, which will go into thousands, or Bangalore, for that matter. The stakes are so high, the property values are so high. Then how do you expect a district and session judge with this huge backlog? And also, I'll give you an example. Supposing I have given a terrible award, and the matter arises from Punjab and Haryana, which session judge will dare to set it aside? Even if I'm absolutely wrong, nobody will do it. What can they do? They're all afraid of the repercussions if you set aside the award. It's not fair to. Why doesn't the act be amended to that extent that all challenges will lie to High Court. Then High Court, there should be only one round, either single judge or division bench. That's all. That's one. Second, time limits. Thirdly, the arbitral fees should be dependent and proportionate to the claim made. What happens is a small contractor sues a big company for, let's say, 50 crores. They'll file a 5,000 crores and drag on the matter. Their counterclaim may be worthless. This fellow, in paying the arbitral fees, will be so hard-pressed. So, okay, you want 5,000 crores? Proportionately pay the arbitral fees.
But that will be a very good thing, sir, because
I think Delhi High Court has done Justice Mukul, but I'm not sure of that.
Okay. No, if that is the case, because my own experience, I'll tell you, we had an arbitration for 3 crores. Ultimately, our portion of the arbitral fees was 1.27 crores.
Yeah, I know.
The award was 2.97 crores plus costs, etc. It went into appeal under Section 34 by the other side. COVID came and we settled the matter for 33 lakhs.
Yeah.
I mean, then you feel justice, you don't feel like justice is done.
No, it's not done at all.
Exactly.
It's injustice done.
And so, what is worse for me was that I was an in-house counsel representing a company. The company's board was entirely foreign. So you're not just facing a foreign board and telling them, so many things happen. You're actually representing in some ways your own country. And they're like, why should we do business in India?
Yeah, no. Look, even if they do business, the arbitration clause says it should be under international bodies and not Indian judges, which is a slap on the face of the judicial system. It should not be like that. In fact, the government should insist that at least 2 arbitrators would be Indians. In every contract, the government should have it.
I think that is going another way now.
Because 10 crores and above, yeah.
So I don't know about that. Sir, actually, when we were talking about fees, I was just thinking about something you were saying before we started recording, where we were just casually discussing about fees of a junior, senior, and you had your own views on, that juniors must be paid well. Yeah. So,
you see, I believe there are certain high courts, reputed high courts. I know of at least one, where it is considered a tradition that juniors won't be paid. They have to work free with senior counsel. I think that kind of a thing should not happen. Because you are now restricting your juniors to an affluent class who can afford to be without fees for some years. That is exclusivity which is undesirable. And why not? Why are you paying the government in taxes? Give it to your junior. With the kind of fees they earn, the taxes are enormous. I think it's 42%. So why pay that much? Because all professional payments are deductible. So I believe that such kind of traditions should be jettisoned. It should be...
It's time to put it in the
Why
past.
not? They're working for you. If your secretary is working, you're not paying him. But your junior who's in the profession, you're paying him. Not paying him. And the secretary, you're paying.
Correct. Maybe we'll see a change on
this. Well, I think all traditions are not good. Certain traditions should be absolutely given and go by.
Actually, speaking of traditions, I'm curious to know, since you are born and raised in a family of fine arts, music, dance, and of course you departed into a totally different world. But I know that you're a lover of and connoisseur of fine art. Has that influenced your approach to whether as a judge or as a lawyer or as an arbitrator? Is there any influence at all of
that? Yes. Let me tell you, my view is all judges should be exposed to some form of fine art, be it theatre, be it poetry, be it music, be it dance, be it theatre, But unfortunately, because exposure to fine arts makes a person more humane. And judges without humane qualities are useless.
Yeah. This reminds me, Justice Prabhashri Devan of the Madras High Court.
Yeah.
She was on the podcast and she said something similar. She was talking about literature and your love. She loves Tamil literature and she's quite
and I know her.
Yeah. She said something very similar. And she said how that influences your thinking as a judge, because you are ultimately serving the society.
Yeah, correct. As I said, exposure to fine arts makes a judge more humane, more broad-minded. You know, so that is. I mean, it's not. It should not be compulsory. It should be self. I think you can't tell everybody. No, you must go to. You get bored to death. You can't do that. It has to come from inside. And inside the judge itself.
And so now, if I have one last question to just close out this section, you've given all of your contributions and all of your experiences, being part of all these turning points, like I said, in the Indian legal jurisprudence. What would you want to leave as a legacy of your professional life? What would you want people to remember you for?
If I would like to say it in kindness of a judge, humane, and as Justice Krishna has said, judge should weep at injustice. He should have that feelings. He should be moved by injustice. I am not saying you break the law, but you bend the law to the extent you can help a weaker section. I would consider, if that is my contribution, I'd be very proud of it.
Okay, lovely. Now we move to the last section of the podcast, which I do for myself because I love hearing the answers. It's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's ask you 5 of something, 4 of something, 3 of something, like that. And these are typically shorter answers. So shall I start? This is 5 productivity tips that you have.
Punctuality, absolute must. Second, hard work. Third, a lawyer should be extremely observant in court. He should have a hawk-eye on the reaction of the other side. When the judge asks a question, he should have a hawk-eye on the judges talking among themselves, or what impression an argument is making. What is the body language? And for body language, I know you're going to ask about the books. There's a book called Man Watching by Desmond Morris.
I see.
It's one of the finest books on body watching. It teaches you so much.
Is it?
Yeah, with photograph. I mean, it's one of my favorite books.
I see. Okay, I'm going to read it. And then last one?
It's not available in print. You'll have to get it from Amazon as a second-hand copy only.
Acha. Okay. Okay, something better than
Man Watching.
Man Watching, Desmond Morris. Okay. And
He's
then
the author of Naked Ape.
Okay. And the last one, as in 5. So you gave 4.
4, my God.
The 5th one, like.
I think you should be very reasonable in fees when you deal with a poor person. And you should not refuse a matter because the person can't. If you see there's an injustice. That's what legal aid taught me.
Nice. Now 4 books.
I've already told you one.
Yeah. Do you want to replace that? I mean, like,
Yeah, I'll say it again.
Yeah.
The first one I would ask every lawyer, every judge to read is Man Watching by Desmond Morris. It has beautiful photographs, beautiful illustrations of body language. And I think in reading human character, body language is extremely important. And as a judge, I practiced it because I watched the reaction. You see, sometimes the client is sitting behind a lawyer, and when you ask a particular question, the client gets alarmed or reacts. Those judges should watch that.
That gives you a lot of cues.
A lot of clue to what the case might unfurl and what should be the right approach.
I see.
Then I think Mr. Sorabji had written a book on freedom of press. That is a must read. Then 2 or 3 books of Mr. Nariman, wonderful. F.S. Nariman, they are outstanding books. And it's difficult to find 4. You wanted 5 books.
4. But need not be law books.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Book-wise, I think this is where I stop.
Yeah. This is like...
Oh, yes. Why not read detective novels of Arthur Conan Doyle?
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the first one, but nobody has said this before.
I know it doesn't sound very learned, but I'm telling you all my honest views.
Yeah, of course. Why not? Like this, where Justice Sri Krishna was asked this question, he said, I have only 3. Bhagavad Gita, Rama and Mahabharata. That's it. He tells you everything about life. So, okay. 3 tips that you would want to give students or young lawyers, because we are really hoping that this conversation reaches them.
Well, I think I already
Yeah,
said.
it's many things
Yeah,
in the
that
conversation, but
you be very observant, you be punctual,
Mm.
you work beyond the hours.
Mm.
I tried to be in the chamber half an hour before my senior came. House and chamber were together.
Acha.
I also worked with Mr. Parekh for
Okay.
1 year.
Okay.
Because
But sir, when I hear you work and speak about, or people like you who have had the opportunity to work with all these great jurists who are not with us, and people like us and those younger than us who we're never going to get this opportunity. Do you think that there are people of that caliber today? That's my first question.
you see, frankly, I won't be able to say because I haven't been exposed to court because after 98, I left practice and went to the bench. And after I retired, I decided not to practice in Supreme Court. So because I had won the black coat and those things which are suffocating for a long time, so I decided. So that's how the arbitration started.
But what I'm getting at is what do young lawyers or people who don't have access to that level of mentorship, what do they do? What can they do? Because there's so much of learning that happens through osmosis just by being in the
No,
company
that,
of people.
look, whatever you learn in law is fine and it doesn't hurt you. But you learn practice of law only in a court. You have to see, the young lawyers have to see how the judge reacts to a particular thing. If he cracks a stupid joke, make eye contact and laugh, whether you're feeling humored or not. Those are the kind of things which should. And if you don't have a case, sit in courts and observe various judges, what annoys them, what pleases them. You see, all this knowledge of law will be worthless unless you can read the judge.
But sir, what about, now we are in a place in the profession where there's so much of specialization. So a lot of people don't even come to court. I'm saying, just after law school,
Yeah, they become corporate lawyers.
or in-house or whatever.
Yeah.
So what do you say about that trend?
Well, it is, you are missing the fun of being a lawyer. You become an employee, and nothing wrong in that. And some people, there's no choice. As I said, the people who do not come from affluent families, they may not have support in the beginning, so they would have to join, and nothing wrong in that. But, this, as far as possible, these judges should be watched in court. That is the best training you can give. My senior, Dr. Chitale, you're doing nothing, go and sit in the court and watch the judges. And that is a great advice to me.
Yeah. I also think that everybody should have litigation experience. I think that should be a mandatory thing. Maybe as an intern or however.
Yeah.
But I personally don't think that going into corporate without having any litigation experience is a good thing.
No, because please see, if you haven't been exposed to court, you may not know what advice may work, what may not work. So you can read all the books and give a very measured and calculated and academically brilliant opinion, but it may not work in court.
Yeah, it may not. And the test of everything that you write ultimately is in the court.
Yeah.
Not necessarily everything goes to the court, but that is a test. And another thing, sir, which I learned, even though I had litigation start before I moved in-house, but when you're in-house, you're a client to the lawyers and a litigant to the court system, which means that you are also sitting on that last bench in the high courts or wherever, and next to you are people, because you are just waiting. You may know a few people in the room more than the others, but I got talking to people who have come from, I'm from Bombay, so from Jalna, from Amravati, Dhule, and they have come in the morning or the previous night, no place to stay, waiting for their matter. It used to, you realize that you are in some rarefied atmosphere, but this is what is your
this is
role.
real life.
Yes, and this is the role of a lawyer.
And this is the life that's why the district courts are so important.
Yes.
In district judiciary, it is wrongly called lower judiciary. It's wrong. It's the district judiciary. And they are the ones where people get really exposed to.
Yes. And it changes you.
And having their language being English is terrible. A person doesn't know his fate, he should be done in his language.
Yes. In fact, I'm coming back to the Madras High Court with Justice Sridevan. I don't think this came on the podcast, but we were having this conversation, and with another lawyer there as well. They were talking about how the purpose of either a lawyer or a judge is to help justice happen. Whichever the closest way possible. Understanding of that local person's concept of nyay and your all of the rules and laws and everything, you try to bring it as close as possible, but you have to also communicate in a language that they understand.
Yeah, correct. I'm all for it. District courts should be, and there are some courts, like I would say the Hindi belt has, I'm sure they're in the other
Even
courts.
in Maharashtra, I think on the district judiciary a lot happens in Marathi, so that is okay. But I just feel that all of us need to have, like how you spoke about legal aid earlier and how you so many lessons that you carried with you as a judge.
Yeah.
And when you said you would be most happy to be remembered if for your contribution for someone who has actually done justice.
I thought it was justice.
Yes.
Maybe I got reversed.
No, but that's okay. The thing is, by being there over there and seeing on the grassroots, that just changes you as a lawyer.
So,
and as a jurist.
I'm again repeat, a judge who's not humane is not fit to be a judge. You can't go just by the letter of law.
Yeah.
You have to see the justice also.
Yes.
And justice is paramount. Law should be bent to accommodate justice, not broken. I wouldn't go that far. But yes, you interpret statutes which helps justice, That's the way it should be.
Yes. So, 2 life lessons that you have learned in your life so far.
Oh, hard work always pays. Second, you should never lose the sense of humor. I enjoyed having humorous stories in my court, exchanges. Like I'll give you a small example. Somebody said, my lord, it's up for us to argue, ultimately it's for you to decide. This is a very common thing, and sometimes I had to say, look, it's very kind of you to give us that permission, but even without your permission, we would have decided on that.
Yes.
So that kind of humor should be there in court. Yeah. It breaks the monotony of, and judges should have a sense of humor also.
And I'm so curious to know about the life of a judge. I know we have done it, we did it with Justice Patel and all of Justice Shri Krishna also. But I don't think people realize how hard judges work. I really don't think. I think Bollywood has completely distorted that order nonsense.
No, but the funny thing is, a small magistrate in a film will have 2 chobdars with bhalas standing behind them.
Exactly.
Even the Chief Justice of India doesn't have that.
Exactly. And I have never seen a gavel in my life. So I really don't know how they got it so wrong. So do you want to say something about that? About the life of a judge and how hard it is?
You see, it is hard, but you must have hobbies. You must relax in the weekend. I never worked. I used to stay in court only till 5 and then come home because I dictated a lot of judgments in court. So that also there. And less you reserve, the happier you are, So, but that you must have skill of language also to dictate. There may be a brilliant judge who cannot dictate it in court, but he can dictate it to the secretary. That's fine. He may turn out to be a much better judge than a judge who dictates in court. But each has its own style. I would read and then switch off and only read admissions in the morning and then...
Yeah, because you need to reset also.
Yeah. No, and don't work on weekends, except maybe some long judgment is pending on a Saturday or something. Staff is also happy with you. Otherwise they have to stay. The life of a High Court judge's staff, they have to stay in the office till 9 p.m. Some judges said, don't think of the poor person who has to go back in Bombay to suburbs. And in Delhi now it's become so big. Delhi also it becomes, don't detain your staff. You want to work, do work. There's no problem. But judges must have a hobby.
Yeah, I agree. I think all of us must have an hobby. Must have a hobby. And the final question is the best piece of advice you have ever received.
Usually I was going through a personal problem. Kumar Gandha, famous musician, came to our house. He used to stay with us earlier. So he called me and said, you forget everything, just do hard work. That will get you out of your misery. I think that was the best advice I've ever received.
Lovely. On that note, thank you, sir. It was wonderful speaking with you and learning about so many things that were actually not there in the Googles and the other literature that I had to do. So
Google is Google.
Yeah. Anything you want to say as like closing, and any message you want to leave any of us, or
No, I am not a messenger with any attainment, so I'm happy with it. But yes, I would say this: be kind. The character of a person is determined by how he treats his subordinates. Those who boss over their subordinates are not good human beings. That I would say.
Okay. Thank you, sir.